She walked in quietly. She was wearing a plain gray dress and a small silver cross around her neck. She looked calm and proud, like someone who didn't need to show off. Nobody in the store knew that she was Keanu Reeves's mom. To the woman working at the boutique, she just looked like a poor old lady who believed in God and didn't have much money. The worker looked down on her. At first, it was small, but soon it became mean. Then, 5 minutes later, the door opened again. Keanu Reeves walked in. And when he spoke, the whole store went completely quiet. "Oh, and before we go on," said a voice like from a video, "tell us where you're watching this from. We love hearing from you and always read your comments." The sound of high heels clicked on the shiny boutique floor like glass tapping on a table. Big mirrors reflected the soft lights. Everything in the store was set up perfectly to show off the dresses, their shapes, and their high prices. It smelled fancy and expensive, not like perfume, but like rich people stuff. It felt like a special place where everything had to be quiet and fancy. Instead of prayers, people believed in brand names. Instead of golden things in a church, there were hangers with very expensive dresses. Some cost as much as a whole year's rent. Miranda liked it that way. She liked the quiet, the control, and the stylish feeling. She stood tall like a statue. Her back was straight, her hair was tied in a neat bun, and her makeup was perfect. She wore a sharp gray jacket that matched her serious face. Her eyes looked at everything quickly and sharply. To her, people weren't just people. They were types. She could tell right away. New rich people who didn't know how to act, bored rich people, young internet stars hoping for free stuff. She knew exactly who to be nice to. But there was one kind of person Miranda didn't like at all. Simple people. People who didn't belong. People who wore plain clothes and crosses. People with faith. Miranda thought religion was silly, just a way to make weak people feel better. She thought it was like fake leather pretending to be real. That morning, as she was fixing a jewelry display, the front door bell rang. She turned around with her fake smile, ready to greet whoever walked in. Then she saw the woman. The woman walked slowly. She didn't look very old, maybe 65, but her steps were gentle and careful. She wore a light gray dress with no brand names. Her hair was in a low bun, and she wore no makeup. Around her neck was a small silver cross. Miranda looked at her for 2 seconds and decided this woman didn't belong. She was unfashionable, religious, and probably came into the store by accident. Miranda almost laughed. The woman walked carefully, like she didn't want to disturb anything. But her eyes were wide and full of wonder. She looked at the dresses like they were magical. She held her hand just above a shiny blue dress with sparkles on it. She smiled as if she had found something special. Miranda took a deep breath. What was this woman doing here? This wasn't a church. It wasn't a place to window shop. This was a fancy fashion store. Miranda walked over with her fake nice smile. "Good morning," she said sweetly, pretending to be kind. "Can I help you?" The woman looked at her kindly, with a smile that didn't try to protect itself. It was just kind. "Oh, I'm just looking, dear," she said. "You have such beautiful things here." The word dear felt strange in this store. Miranda kept smiling, but inside she was annoyed. "We carry very special dresses," she said, glancing at the woman's plain clothes. "Some are made just for one person. They're a bit in particular." "I can imagine," the woman said kindly. "My name is Eleanor." Miranda acted like she cared, but she didn't. She had already decided Eleanor didn't matter. Eleanor kept looking around slowly, smiling softly. She stopped in front of a white dress with pretty hand-sewn designs. Miranda almost reached out to move it away. Just the thought of Eleanor trying it on felt wrong. "This one," Miranda said, "was made for a special kind of woman. Someone who knows how to wear it." She was being mean, but trying to sound polite. Eleanor looked at the dress, then at Miranda. She smiled calmly. Not angry, not sad. Just calm. That smile made Miranda feel weird. It was like Eleanor knew something she didn't. "Faith taught me that you don't have to wear the world to matter in it," Eleanor said. Miranda blinked. She didn't know what to say. That sentence felt like a tiny pin poking her pride. But she fixed her smile again. She was about to say something else mean but polite when the boutique door opened again. But Miranda didn't pay attention. She was too busy planning her next insult. She didn't see that the necklace she didn't like was about to show her something about her own heart. Miranda straightened her jacket like it was armor. Eleanor was still looking at a gold dress with peaceful joy on her face. Miranda didn't like how honest that joy looked. It didn't fit in here. She walked over again, her footsteps quick and perfect. "That dress is lovely," Miranda said. "But it's from our special collection. Maybe the store across the street would have something more for you." She said it nicely, but she really meant, "You're not good enough for this dress." Eleanor looked at the dress, then at Miranda. "Thank you," she said, "but I like this one." Miranda's smile twitched for a second. She noticed two customers watching. One lady raised her eyebrow, judging Eleanor. Another, a younger man, looked away and pretended to be busy on his phone. Behind the counter, Lila was watching too. She was Miranda's helper, young and still learning. She always stayed quiet. But now she was watching closely, her hands frozen above some price tags. Miranda saw her. "Lila, could you bring the burgundy gown from the back?" Lila nodded and walked away. But she looked back at Eleanor before she left. Now Miranda and Eleanor were alone again. "You know," Miranda said, "not everyone can wear dresses like these. You have to be the kind of woman who becomes the dress." Eleanor touched the fabric gently. She looked right at Miranda. "Faith taught me that you don't need to wear the world to have value in it," she said again. This time her voice was even stronger. Miranda opened her mouth, but her throat felt dry. That calm, peaceful tone made her feel trapped. She was used to being in control, making people feel small or proud, depending on what she wanted. But Eleanor wasn't moving. She wasn't scared or impressed. She was just there. Real. The doorbell rang again. Miranda didn't even look. She thought it was just another shopper. But Lila, coming back with the burgundy dress, stopped in her tracks. Her eyes got big. She stared at the door. Eleanor turned slowly too. Her face changed, not surprised, but warm, like she saw someone she loved. Miranda was about to say one last thing, one last insult dressed up in perfume, but she felt the room change. The air wasn't just quiet. It felt heavy, like something important had happened. The bell above the door had stopped ringing, but the sound seemed to stay in the room like it didn't want to leave. Didn't want to leave. Lila stood frozen, the dress in her hands. Her eyes wide. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe. Eleanor looked at the door. There he was. Keanu Reeves. Not a famous movie star. Just a son. He wore a black coat, simple jeans, and dark boots. No group of people. No sunglasses. His face looked calm, but his eyes saw everything, every person in the room. Then he saw Eleanor. He walked slowly, like even the room needed a moment to catch up to him. The other customers turned to look. One whispered. Another gasped. But Keanu didn't notice them. He walked straight to Eleanor. He didn't speak. He just hugged her. He held her close, like she was the most important thing in the world. He rested his head on hers, closed his eyes, and whispered something only she could hear. No one looked away. Not because he was famous, but because something beautiful had happened. and nobody wanted to miss it. Eleanor put her hand gently on her son's back. A little while ago, that same hand had touched a dress, but now it was holding something more important. Her son's sad feelings, his love, and everything they had been through together. Miranda hadn't moved. She didn't know who this man was. Not yet. But she felt something had changed. She wasn't in charge anymore. Her eyes squinted a bit. Who was he? He looked like a regular person, but the whole shop went quiet just because he was there. He didn't shout or ask for attention. It was just the way he stood, strong and calm. He slowly turned, still hugging his mom. He looked around the boutique. He saw everyone watching. Lila was frozen. The other shoppers looked away. Then, he saw Miranda. He looked right at her, and for the first time that day, Miranda felt like someone truly saw her. Not because of her clothes or style, but really saw her. He didn't yell. His voice was quiet, calm, but it filled the room like a storm coming. "She still wears this cross," he said, pointing kindly at his mom's necklace. Then he looked back at Miranda. "And yet none of you saw anything." Everyone went quiet. A silence that felt heavy, like it was filled with guilt. Lila's hand shook. The other people stared at their shoes or phones, not wanting to look up. Only Miranda tried to keep looking at him, but something inside her felt broken. She didn't know why yet. She still didn't know who this man was. But in less than 2 minutes, she would wish she had never said one single mean word to his mom. A whisper started. A fancy man in his 40s, holding a folder, tilted his head and looked at the man next to Eleanor. He opened his mouth and whispered, "Wait, is that?" Another woman with sharp makeup turned and gasped, "That's Keanu Reeves." The room changed. Not the walls or floor, but the feeling. Like everyone suddenly wanted to listen. Heads turned. Whispers started like a soft wave. Miranda's heart beat fast. Her throat felt tight. No, it couldn't be. She had been standing next to this woman, this nobody, for 10 whole minutes. She had judged her, been mean to her, and now, "She's his mom," someone said aloud. Miranda felt a sweat drop roll down her neck. She stood up straighter, tried to smile, and said quickly, "Mr. Reeves, I didn't know. We're so happy you're here. There's been a mistake, really." But he lifted his hand just a little. That small move stopped her from talking. He wasn't angry. He didn't yell. But his words were sharp, like cold wind. The way you treat people who believe in something says more about you than anything in this store. His words were quiet, but they felt big, like they shook the room. Miranda tried to speak again, but no words came. Then Lila spoke. Her voice was soft but clear. "It wasn't a mistake," Lila said. "She was mean. And she meant it." Everyone turned to look at Lila. She didn't back away. Miranda whispered, "Lila, not now." But Lila didn't agree with her anymore. "Now is the perfect time," she said. Her voice didn't shake. She looked at Eleanor. Eleanor gave her a gentle nod, like saying, "You did the right thing." Keanu looked at Lila too. The way he looked at her said thank you, not because she was a helper in the shop, but because she was brave and kind. Eleanor stood still, her hand resting on her son's arm. She never shouted. She never asked for help. She never cried. But her strength was clear. And Miranda could finally see it, and it hurt. A buzzing sound came from Miranda's pocket. She didn't look at it. Buzz. Again. She finally peeked. It was a message from the store's owner. It said, "Watching the cameras. Call me now." Miranda's stomach dropped. Of course, there were cameras all over the store. The owner had seen everything. She called with shaking hands. "I can explain," she began. But the voice on the phone was cold. "Don't." Keanu turned a little and looked at all the customers too. My mom has always lived with kindness and calm, he said. But this, he waved gently around the store, this is what you call luxury? If you only think people matter because of what they wear or what they believe, then maybe you're not selling clothes. Maybe you're selling shame. No one replied. Some customers quietly picked up their bags and left. One woman shook her head at Miranda. If that's how you treat her, imagine how you treat the rest of us. Buzz. Another message. Miranda looked down. Owner, this is going to be handled. Expect another call. The store felt colder now. Not because the air was different, but because something inside had broken. One older woman in a navy outfit spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. If this is how they treat Keanu Reeves's mother, what chance do the rest of us have? Her words weren't loud, but they hit hard. Miranda stood frozen. Her phone was now black. The call had ended. Her ears rang. She tried to talk again. Everyone, I think this is getting out of hand. We want all our customers to feel. But her voice was different now. It didn't sound strong. It sounded weak. Nobody listened. They didn't see a strong worker anymore. They saw someone who had been unkind. Lila stepped forward. She didn't rush. She didn't cry. She just took off her name tag. I can't work here anymore, she said. Miranda's eyes widened. Lila, please. Not now. But Lila stood tall. Now is exactly when it matters. She looked at Eleanor, who gave her another kind nod, like saying, You were brave. Keanu looked at Lila too. He saw her not as a worker, but as someone who did the right thing. The phone buzzed again. Miranda didn't want to answer, but she did. You're done, said the store owner. The voice was calm, but firm. Give back your keys. Say sorry, if you can. Then leave. You don't belong here anymore. Click. The call ended. 10 words. That was all. She had lost everything. She looked at Eleanor now. The woman had never yelled, never pointed fingers. But she stood strong, like a tree that never moved. Miranda tried, one last time. I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought you were someone else. Eleanor didn't even blink. You thought I was less. That's the problem. Then more softly, she added, my faith doesn't need everyone to agree. Just respect. People started leaving, one by one. Some nodded kindly to Eleanor. A few to Keanu. Most walked past Miranda without looking at her. The boutique didn't shine anymore. It felt like a stage with the lights turned off. Its sparkle was gone. Its secret was out. As Miranda walked toward the door, everything felt like it was falling apart. She lost her job. She didn't know who she was anymore. Her fancy clothes didn't help her feel strong now. No one came to hug her or help her feel better. She wasn't the one who had been hurt, but she still felt really bad. She looked down in shame, ready to leave, but then Lila did something surprising. She turned to Keanu and asked a soft question, one that would change her life. Later, they were sitting in a quiet cafe. Not quite like a store with no people, but a cozy quiet, with soft chairs, warm drinks, and gentle music. Lila, Keanu, and Eleanor sat at a small table near the window. Lila stirred her coffee slowly. She still felt a little nervous after what happened earlier. Her name tag was gone. Her hands were free. Keanu sat across from her, calm and strong, just like he was in the store. Eleanor held her cup of tea with both hands. She still wore her silver cross necklace. It was small, but it meant a lot. Thank you, Lila finally said. Her voice was soft, but you could tell she meant it. Keanu smiled and said, You didn't really need us. You already made the brave choice before we even walked in. Lila looked down at her drink. Her throat felt tight. Still, I don't know what to do next. I left everything back in that store. Eleanor gave her a kind smile. Sometimes, when you leave something behind, it's really your first step forward. They all sat quietly for a little while, sipping their drinks. People walked past the window. Life kept going. Then Eleanor spoke again, gently but clearly. I've had times when people embarrassed me. Not just people like Miranda, but big systems, unfair rules, and silence. But I always chose to be kind. Lila listened closely. Why? She asked. Eleanor answered right away. Because being kind keeps the door open. Being angry just slams it shut. Keanu looked at his mom, then back at Lila. You helped someone today. That shows who you really are. That's something special. Lila's eyes sparkled a little. Keanu took a small notebook out of his coat. He wrote something, tore the page out, and passed it to Lila. I know people, really good people, he said. You deserve to work in a place that sees your big heart. Call them. They'll know who you are. Lila looked at the note like it was treasure. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything, Keanu said with a smile. Just keep doing what you did today. That's enough. She folded the note and put it in her bag like it was a secret message. Then her phone buzzed. Then it buzzed again. And again. Lila picked it up and stared. 20 million views, she said. Keanu raised his eyebrow. The video? He asked. Yes, Lila said, showing her phone. Someone filmed what happened in the store. It's everywhere now. People are watching. They're talking about it. Eleanor didn't seem shocked. People like seeing fairness, she said. But more than that, they need kindness. Lila looked out the window. Her future had just changed, not because of a video, but because someone remembered what really matters inside. But just as Lila smiled with hope, Keanu looked outside the cafe and noticed something. He saw someone or something that made him pause. It wasn't supposed to be there. Far away, Miranda sat alone in her fancy apartment. It was too quiet. She sat on her soft couch, still wearing her store uniform. Her makeup had faded. Her hair was messy. She held her phone, not to call anyone, just to feel it in her hand. The screen glowed softly. The video had gone viral. 20 million views. So many people wrote comments. People cheering for Eleanor, praising Lila, repeating Keanu's words, asking for Miranda to be fired. But they didn't know, it had already happened. Miranda turned off the screen. It was quiet again. Not a happy quiet. A lonely quiet. Across the city, Lila stood in front of a new building. It wasn't a fancy store. It was a small, happy design place. The people inside were different. They worked together. They listened. They cared more about ideas than looks. She still held the note Keanu had given her. When she walked in, a friendly woman at the desk smiled and said, "We've been waiting for you." Lila smiled back. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was in the right place. A place where caring wasn't a weakness, but a gift. Eleanor stood by the road with a small bag. Keanu fixed the strap on his messenger bag. He looked peaceful. "You ready?" he asked. "Always," Eleanor said. A car pulled up. Keanu opened the door for her. But before she got in, Eleanor looked back at the city. She looked at the streets where people had hurt her, the store that tried to make her feel small, and the people who had both helped and hurt her. She didn't look angry. She looked wise, like someone who had felt pain but learned from it. In the car, as the buildings grew smaller in the distance, Keanu said, "She never really saw you." "She didn't need to," Eleanor said. I'm not here to be noticed. I'm here to stand for what's right. Keanu nodded. They didn't need to say more. The city kept moving. Most people didn't know they had just seen something very special, a quiet moment where dignity won. Back in her apartment, Miranda watched the video again. Eleanor, standing strong in her dress, her cross necklace shining, her eyes calm and brave, saying, "My faith doesn't need to be liked. It just needs to be respected." That's when Miranda finally understood. It wasn't the necklace that made Eleanor strong. It was what she believed deep inside. "Luxury isn't what you wear," Eleanor had said. "It's what you carry in your heart." As Lila walked into her new job, and Miranda sat quietly thinking, Keanu's last words echoed like a kind of blessing. The cross around her neck was heavier than any jewel in that store, because she carried something no one there could see: dignity. If you liked this story, tell me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun adventures and mysteries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.